Good morning and welcome to this week's episode of the Last Night's Game podcast. I'm your host, Amy Butch on Siegfried. And this week we are taking you to Europe. The beautiful part about this is if you're listening to it in your car or while you're out for a walk, maybe not out for a walk, we have air conditioning, unlike a lot of places in Europe as we discover what's happening in the world of sports, actually all overseas. So, here to talk a little bit about this is my favorite brother, my favorite co founder, and co host, Scott. Scott, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me on. And like you said, no air conditioning in Europe. So that's a terrifying thing to find out. I think I learned that during the Olympics last year.
That was gross. Yeah. I mean, we were just in Florence for a wedding not that long ago. And luckily our rooms had air conditioning, but it was
hmm
like 95 degrees and you're walking around and doing stuff. Like it's so hot.
It's hot and miserable, and I don't want to be a part of that.
No.
Which is the bad part because everyone's going on summer vacation, traveling the world, most likely to Europe. And in this podcast, we're going to disclose that's kind of the sports capital of the world for a
Yeah.
few weeks in July every year, basically.
Yeah,
And now we
absolutely.
know they're all sweating.
Yeah, so when you're watching Wimbledon, which was what we'll start with, and
Mhm.
you're watching Princess Kate and all these people dressed up in jackets and ties sitting in the, stadium, the arena we call it a stadium? It's a stadium.
Yes.
They're hot. I mean, there's a roof, and I believe there's probably air conditioning in there, but, I mean, still, unless you're on the in the main spot, like, it's hot and it's gross. So just, you know, feel a little bit bad for them as they're drinking Pimm's cups and champagne and eating strawberries and cream. Okay, so, like, feel a little bit bad for them. Maybe just a little bit.
While I'm on my couch in air conditioning, yes.
Mhm. Yeah, just a little
Watching
bit.
David Beckham sweat in a nice suit. Yes.
Well, you know,
That's the
it's
one advantage I'll ever have over him is
it's
I'm on my couch
true.
in the air
It's true.
conditioning.
It's true. Where we can still drink our Pimm's cup and drink
That's true.
champagne, like, that's totally okay.
It's legal here.
In my Lululemon shorts, like, there you go.
Take that.
Take that. There you go. Well, let's start with tennis because that begins it began on the 30th, runs through the 13th of
hmm
July. 2 weeks as most tournaments. This is one of the majors or grand slams. And what do we need to know about Wimbledon? What's like your favorite fact about Wimbledon? Let's start with that.
Ooh, there's actually a lot of random things about Wimbledon. It's almost like when we do the Augusta podcast for the Masters. It's always there's so many interesting facts. I mean, the main one is it's played on grass, and that's unique in its own right. It's the only major played on grass, and a lot of we don't really have grass to play on in America, so it's quite challenging. Think about hitting a tennis ball off like your front lawn.
Like a putting
So
green, probably, right? It's
yeah,
short,
well,
but
well manicured, yes,
yes.
kind of a putting green, yeah.
But you'll start to notice as the tournament goes on, there are like
hmm
brown spots worn in where the ball hits, where the people are running back and forth. So, like, it's not by the time you get to the finals, it's not like you might as well be playing on concrete, I suppose.
Yeah, it's pretty much it's worn down because everyone's kind of sitting in the same spot the entire tournament, and you can only fix the grass so much. But yeah, that's obviously the number one fact.
Well, so the one question I do have though is does it get is grass clay is more slippery, right?
Yes, well, you have to learn how to play both. They're both slippery in their own right
Okay.
because you can slide a lot further on the clay when you watch like Carlos Alcaraz play, he won the French Open and he's a defending Wimbledon champion. He can slide halfway across the court, and that's what makes him he's so fast.
Risky business type style.
Yes.
The one thing I love about Wimbledon, and we have all these fun facts, so we're going to talk
hmm
a little bit about them. But like, I love Rufus the Hawk. So that's like my favorite fun fact about it because most people don't see it. But
hmm
Rufus is the hawk that patrols the grounds of Wimbledon to keep the pigeons and other birds away, A, from pooping on you and the
Yes.
courts, but B, from eating your food and all the other things. Because there's a whole setup. Like people are outside center court watching the tournament on the grass on the hill. Like there are people everywhere and it's a big deal. And then everyone's wearing white. People who play in Wimbledon have to wear white.
Yes, and it's up to Rufus to work behind the scenes, not getting a lot of credit to keep the pigeons away from pooping on your white outfit
Mhm.
as you play tennis. So he's really the unsung hero of the entire tournament.
The true statement. Shout out
Yeah,
to Rufus. I don't even like birds. Shout out to Rufus.
yeah, you don't like birds at all.
No, I don't.
Maybe Rufus doesn't identify as a bird. That's
Maybe.
maybe that's his calling.
But like I said, so everyone has to wear white, and I did not
Yes.
intentionally wear a white shirt on this podcast for that.
Look at that.
I mean, it didn't do it on purpose. So rumor has it is because it wouldn't show sweat like other
Mhm.
fabrics. Now, let's be honest, the fabrics of the then when they made this dress coat and the fabric of the now, totally different.
Were they
But
wearing like
rumor
suit
has
and
it.
ties when they were playing? Like thick khaki pants? Is that why?
Oh, yeah, I guess they probably did. Yeah, I didn't think about those old
Like
pictures.
proper outfits?
It
Yeah.
also it also wasn't 200 degrees out, I don't think.
No,
Maybe it was.
global warming. Now we have much better materials to play with now.
So, really interesting. Okay, so Wimbledon, it has one of the highest purses, right? We were looking at the number goes up every year. I was comparing
Yes.
notes from previous podcasts about some of the other things we've talked about and we'll talk about today, but like the money keeps going up for Wimbledon. So it's like a $71 million purse, with the winners taking home singles winners taking home about $4 million.
And that's over 11% increase over last year. So year over year, they're putting their money back into the product, which is good for the players, and equal purses. So men and women are winning the same amounts as well. So they're putting their money where their mouth is
And
at
speaking
Wimbledon.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really like, it's amazing, and you're going to draw the biggest talent, right?
Mhm.
You wanna keep making sure that people wanna play there, especially since it's hot in the summer.
Yes.
Speaking of men and women, they will not be calling in and out. There will be no line judges this year. Is that the first time we've seen that?
Yes. So the first time in 147-year history that we'll have automatic line calls, which is the Hawkeye technology. So if it'll just in and out, yeah, it'll call in and out automatically.
Okay,
And this we don't have to worry about rewatch the French Open. There's no automatic line calling. So there will be little room to debate and yell at people unless you want to yell at a computer.
every computer doesn't count.
Yes.
Well, do other tournaments do this? I'm sure they have by the time they would've.
Oh, they're instituting it mandatory in almost every tournament. French
Really?
Open's the only major that didn't do it, but most tournaments throughout the year do.
Interesting.
That way,
Well,
you're not arguing and wasting time depending on judges to see the spot in the court, from their chair.
sure. I mean, that makes sense. Well, I mean, it just makes for a long day, right? At some point,
Hmm.
you're gonna get tired. There is a curfew, so they don't play after a certain time. But like, you're gonna get tired. Your eyeballs get tired. You're not gonna be paying attention, whatever
Yeah.
that might be. And it's just like one of those things that just takes the human error out of it.
Yes. Yeah. The curfew's at 11 p.m.
Okay.
So they won't be going too late. That's good.
Well, it's unfortunate for those of us based in the US because it's, that's an after work time frame for us that we won't get
Hmm.
to watch stuff after work. But it's good for them because some of those was it the Australian Open? I think that they had one that went till like 1 AM and then one of the guys had to pick up and play the next day in like the afternoon.
Yeah. I think that was possibly Djokovic maybe last year or year before, and he's
Yeah.
older. So it's tough turnaround for those guys.
And once again, it's hot there because it's the summer, even though it's our winter. And it's like all those things add up,
Mhm.
right? And if you're wanting a great performance and you're paying for it, like let's let it happen. The
Yes.
US Open has one too, doesn't it? Because it's in a neighborhood in New York.
U.S. Open's known for going super late.
Okay. Maybe I
Yeah,
was thinking they
that's
should have
that's
one.
more of their calling card and party atmosphere super late.
See, New York. I see you.
Yeah. So that's their
Speaking of party atmospheres, I'm going to transition us over
okay.
to running of the bulls. So we're taking obviously doing all the things happening in Europe right now, and running the bulls happens July 7th through the 14th in Pamplona, Spain. Everyone probably knows what that is. I've actually like met more people than I've thought would ever have like run the running of the bulls. And it tends to involve we stayed out and drank too much the night before
Hmm.
and then got up and ran with the bulls, or maybe didn't even go home and went and ran with the bulls, which I didn't understand is actually not that long of a distance. I think it's like half a mile, maybe. I could be wrong, but it's short, much shorter than I anticipated. But it's basically they're running them down this corridor, if you will,
Hmm.
to the arena. And
Okay.
there's like nowhere to go. But we had friends who I was talking to a couple weeks ago that you have to wear white. So that's a requirement.
Like Wimbledon.
Like, well, let's see, look at
Yes.
this. I'm my white today. See, I do
Yeah.
something. Um, but I thought was interesting because she was like, well, we showed up and my brother didn't have white. So he had to go buy some super overpriced linen pants because that was all that was available. So like start selling white pants in Pamplona in July.
It's a good hustle.
But then they run down this like corridor. But she said they rented like an Airbnb or something, an apartment. And she said it was awful and disgusting, but so expensive because it's a balcony where you could watch all these people go
Yeah.
by.
I never thought about the distance, how far you actually have to run. Any distance is far enough when you're running from bulls.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's more like getting out of the way of the bulls than it is like
Just
running
avoiding them.
with them. Yes. But, I was thinking like sounds like a deadly thing and we should probably not do this because that seems dangerous. But it really like, goring happens, but they
Mhm.
typically people hundreds of people are injured, but most of them are like minor scrapes and cuts because they fell down, they ran into a wall, they jumped up on a light
Yes,
post, something like
sprained ankles and stuff.
it's stuff more like and go back to the we were drunk running or still hungover or whatever, running through the streets. So
I mean, yeah, if you can time it out right to where you don't feel your body, you don't think a lot of people that have had incredible performances hungover and or still drunk. So
this
I
is
think
true.
that's probably the strategy if you can get it scientifically worked out.
You can just be a little bit looser that way.
Yeah,
We know someone like someone who knows, I think was a friend of a friend who got hit by a double decker bus in London when he was very intoxicated. But because you don't lock
he's
up,
loose. Yeah,
it's actually like okay.
yeah. So
I'm not sure about mentally, but it's okay
we
physically.
don't recommend it, but if you have to do that,
I tend to not recommend, but so we have running the bulls, and that's like I said, something that people do, and it's a huge festival, part of the Sanfermin Festival, which takes place every year. So it's quite the spectacle. So if you keep your eye out on your social because you never know who might show up to run with the bulls,
and they're gonna be sweating in white.
and they're white,
Yes.
and they're Wimbledon white. So I'm going to take us back a day from running the bulls. We have the F1 race. So we have is it why am I like Silverstone?
Yes.
It's the British Grand Prix, and there's been a lot you'll see that a lot if you've hit the movie theater for the F1 movie with Brad Pitt. There's quite a bit of Silverstone in it. Have you watched that movie yet?
I have not seen it yet. As you know, I'm not a big movie person most of the time, but since this is sports adjacent, I'm gonna have to I'll give it a watch eventually here soon.
The
Because I
soundtrack is
know soundtrack's good. Who's on it? Do we know who's on it?
Tate McRae, there's a song with, Ed Sheeran and John Mayer. Ed Sheeran singing, John Mayer's on the guitar, Dave Grohl's on the drums. There's
Wow.
a couple other, Ray has one. There's a couple, like, I've seen them, like, slowly they've been hitting sort of the Hits One radio station on Sirius, and then we looked it up on Spotify, and a lot of them aren't even really the songs aren't even out yet, but they're big names. I mean, they've definitely pulled in some big names for the soundtrack.
Wow. On top of Brad Pitt, you've got big names for music. This is massive.
As one does, right? So, yeah, this is a little more my zone than versus yours, but it's like, I'm really intrigued to watch that one. I think I haven't had a chance to go see it yet, but I'm ready to go check it out.
Yeah, especially since like you said Silverstone, that they filmed actually like what during the races, I think in on the track for this movie. I think that's the first time ever been done for sure. So
He drove the car, if I remember
and he was
correctly.
actually driving the car. So this was like a real deal movie. It's not like CGI. He's in like a green screen somewhere. He's out there on the track actually getting after it.
Which is yeah, I don't think they, like, filmed it in there, like, he's not driving out there with, like, Lewis Hamilton or anything, but, like, they filmed it on the track, which I think is cool, like, why I
Mhm.
mean, if you're Brad Pitt, and
What else do you have to? Yeah,
I'm assuming F1 sanctioned this movie, obviously, so it's like,
yeah.
why not?
You've done everything else in life. Why not learn how to drive F1 cars? And he's almost like he's entering the Tom Cruise level of like doing real stunts and jumping off planes. And why not?
Drive an F1 car.
Yeah,
So we have that coming up for us on the 6th. So when you're recuperating from your 4th of July, you can catch some of that. We should
maybe
mention
digesting some hot dogs from
that's
July
I was
4th,
just gonna say,
perhaps.
we should mention 4th of July is the hot dog eating contest. We dove into the hot dog eating contest
Hmm.
last week's podcast. Joey Chestnut is back. And so he's going for 83 hot dogs this year.
That's his goal. If the dogs are fast.
If the dog the dogs are as fast as the
Hmm.
runners in Pamplona.
Yeah,
I feel like that should be some sort of bet at like a sports book of like hot dogs, speed in Pamplona, like a what do we call a parlay,
you could do
three,
that. Yeah.
and like
Oh, that's
will
some good
Brad
odds.
be at the Silverstone race? Maybe that could be my pop culture parlay
I'm sure
card.
he'll be there. I'm sure.
I mean, you gotta do it. You gotta do it. So we have all those things happening, and we're gonna wrap it with the most intense thing on our list.
Hmm.
I mean, depending, I guess, who you ask, but like the most underpaid for the intensity, I will put it that way,
Yes.
is the Tour de France. So that's happening obviously in France, starts on July 5th. And that's one of those where I like to say, like, come for the scenery, stay for the cycling because it's a long slog. It's 21 stages. So I think it's what, 23 days worth because they take 2 days off in there.
Yes, they get 2 days of break, which is
Insane.
crazy. Yeah.
They're hiking 2,000 miles through France. This year, they're only in France. Sometimes they go into other countries. And you mentioned last year, and I forgot about that. The Olympics was in Paris last year. So
Mhm.
I don't think they even touched Paris last year.
Yeah, I think they avoided it somehow. That's the first time since 2020 since it's just been in France. So they started to branch out and go to the other countries surrounding.
Yeah. So it's like, but I mean, the mountains and the scenery. And I always think it's absolutely insane how close they let people get to the bike.
Mhm.
Like, not, I mean, you're in the countryside. What are they going to do? Put up fencing? In the
No,
US,
like
they,
on a random hill on a huge mountain. There's not much place to go, so it's inevitable you're going to see some idiot try to take a selfie and like stick his head out and run it. I think it's happened the past few years, and
and it's
they're going to run right into some
right.
guy and
That's what
cause a
they like.
massive, yeah,
The capacity of like having a kid run into the street or like someone drop their water bottle, whatever it might
yeah,
be, their bottle of Italian or their bottle of French wine in the middle and then knock over like a whole group of riders
yeah,
is the
and
potential is there.
for how fast they go and how close they ride, it's unprecedented access for these fans to do something stupid on accident.
Yeah, but speaking of stupid, I looked this up because I had found it a couple years ago and I wanted to see if
Mhm.
they were still doing it. It's apparently a thing. It's like unsanctioned, obviously. In some of the areas where they have hills, that mountain bikers will then go an extreme bike over the road and jump over the road over the bikers. So it's like a double bike situation.
I've never heard of this before, so like they time it so when the peloton or
Mhm.
like the group is they jump over it.
They ride their bikes and jump over it. Yep.
Wow.
Because why wouldn't you do that?
I'm sure the broadcast probably tries not to show that to encourage things like stupid things like that happening.
But maybe it might also provide some excitement to the broadcast.
True.
It's a lot to talk about for 21
One
days.
days, yes, yes. Races are very long and hilly.
Yes, they're very long, very hilly, and some terms we kind of talked about, I think, before. I mean, where did I find it? Because you already mentioned, the Peloton, obviously, or French for group.
Hmm.
Some of the other things, there's a musket bag, which is a shoulder bag containing food and water that they hand to the riders at the feeding stations,
It has nothing to do with muskets from the Revolutionary War.
probably, or maybe it was made out of, like, some sort of animal once upon a time.
Muskrat.
Maybe muskrat. I don't know.
Interesting. That's good to know.
Then there's a sag wagon, and that has nothing to do with what happens to your body when it gets older. That's the wagon that follows cyclists and picks them up when they can no longer ride or they're injured or there's an equipment failure or something like that.
So you do not want to be in the side wagon.
You don't sag, not sad.
Sag wagon. Okay.
It could probably be called the sad wagon. So, but after all of that, all of the racing, like 2,000 miles, 21 stages. The winner takes home $560,000, which don't get me wrong is a lot of money, but for comparison, Wimbledon winners are taking home about what we say 2.9, 3 million.
Remember it increases
4
every year, so we're up
4
to
million.
four.
Yeah.
So that I don't know the math, but that's a lot more money than riding 2,000 miles on a bike
Yeah.
for sure.
So you put the hours and do the math, it's definitely underpaid compared to the other sports that are going to be
That's
happening. Although I'm
grueling.
sure
Yes.
the running the bulls does not pay well.
I don't think so. Not for a random person who woke up intoxicated on a park bench and jumped in front of some bulls.
Did you know the person? I know a person who did that too.
I know people have done that as well. So, and they're still alive. So it may have been a good strategy.
I think this might need to be a last night's game activity one of these days.
That might have been a past life.
Well, maybe we could go watch it,
Okay. And then if you get inspired, you can jump in.
and then we'll sponsor somebody's white pants and slap a
Okay.
logo.
Oh, there we go.
That's where I think we're headed. I think
Okay.
that's
Well,
much
we'll
more
start.
like
I'm going to start the recruiting process.
yeah.
Start
We'll
reviewing.
go to the bars the night before.
You don't have to tell them probably while they're sleeping on the park bench. You just put a sticker on their butt.
Yeah, or pants, like, put their pants on.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're on a park bench, your chances of you not having pants on are probably high.
Correct. Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining me to talk all about these 4 big events happening in Europe with a little side dose of the hot dog eating contest. Enjoy your 4th of July holiday. Stay safe. Don't blow your fingers off with fireworks. And
Correct.
of course, keep up with us at lastnightsgame.com.
Yes. Thank you.